The Little House, Season 1, Chapter 2, Winter Days and Winter Nights. The first snow came, and the bitter cold. Every morning, Pa took his gun and his traps and was gone all day in the big woods, setting the small traps for muskrats and mink along the creeks, the middle-sized traps for foxes and wolves in the woods. He set out the big bear traps, hoping to get a fat bear before they all went into their dens for the winter. One morning, he came back, took the houses and sled, and hurried away again. He had shot a bear. Laura and Mary jumped and down and clapped their hands. They were so glad. Mary shouted, "I want the drumstick! I want the drumstick!" Mary did not know how big a bear's drumstick is. When Pa came back, he had both a bear and a pig in the wagon. He had been going through the woods with a big bear trap in his hands and the gun on his shoulder. When he walked around a big pine tree covered with snow and the bear was behind the tree, the bear had just killed the pig and was standing up on its hind legs, holding the pig in its paws just as though they were hands. Pa shot the bears, and there was no way of knowing where the pig came from, nor whose pig it was, so it just brought home the bacon, Pa said. There was plenty of fresh meat to last for a long time. The days and the nights were so cold that the pork in a box and the bear meat hanging in the little shed outside the back door were solidly frozen and did not thaw. When Ma wanted fresh meat for dinner, Pa took the axe and cut off a chunk of frozen bear meat or pork, but the sausage balls or the salt pork or the smoked hams and the venison Ma could get for herself from the shed or the attic. The snow kept coming till it was drifted and banked against the house. In the morning, the window panes were covered with frosted, beautiful pictures of trees and flowers and fairies. Ma said that Jack Frost came in the night and made the pictures. While everyone was asleep, Laura thought that Jack Frost was a little man, all snowy white, wearing a glittering white pointed cap and soft white knee boots made of deerskin. His coat was white and his mittens were white, and he did not carry a gun on his back, but in his hands he had shining, sharp tools with which he carved the pictures. Laura and Mary were allowed to take Ma's thimble and make pretty patterns of circles in the frost on the glass, but they never spoiled the picture that Jack Frost had made in the night when they put their mouths close to the pane and blew their breath on it. The white frost melted and ran in drops down the glass. Then they could see the drifts of snow outdoors and the great trees standing bare and black, making thin blue shadows on the white snow. Laura and Mary helped Ma with the work. Every morning there were the dishes to wipe. Mary wiped more of them than Laura because she was bigger. But Laura always wiped carefully her own little cup and plate. By the time the dishes were all wiped and set away, the trundle bed was aired. Then, standing one on each side, Laura and Mary straightened the covers, tucked them in well at the foot and the sides, plumped up the pillows, and they put in place. Then Ma pushed the trundle bed into its place under the big bed. After this was done, Ma began the work that belonged to that day. Each day had its own proper work. Ma used to say, wash on Monday, iron on, Tuesday mend on, Wednesday churn on, Thursday glean on, Friday bake on Sunday, rest on Sunday. Laura liked the churning and the baking days the best of all the week. In winter, the cream was not yellow as it was in summer, and butter churned from it was white and not so pretty. Ma liked everything on her table to be pretty, so in the winter time she colored the butter after she had put the cream in the tall crockery churn and set it near the stove to warm. She washed and scraped a long orange-colored carrot. Then she grated it on the bottom of the old leaky tin pan that Pa had punched full of nail holes for her. Ma rubbed the carrot across the roundness until she had rubbed it all through the holes, and when she lifted up the pan, there was a soft, juicy mound of grated carrot. She put this in a little pan of milk on the stove, and when the milk was hot, she poured milk and carrot into a cloth bag. Then she squeezed the bright yellow milk into the churn, where it colored all the cream. Now the butter would be yellow. Laura and Mary were allowed to eat the carrot after milk had been squeezed out. Mary thought she ought to have the larger share because she was older, and Laura said she should have it because she was littler. But Ma said they must divide it evenly, and it was very good. When the cream was ready, Ma scaled the long wooden churn trash, put it in the churn, and dropped the wooden churn cover over it. The churn cover had a little round hole in the middle, and Ma moved the dash up and down through the hole. She churned for a long time. Mary could sometimes churn while Ma rest, but the dash was too heavy for Laura. At the first splashes of cream showed thick and smooth around the little hole. After a long time, they began to look grainy. Then Ma churned more slowly, and on the dash there began to appear tiny grains of yellow butter. When Ma took off the churn cover, there was the butter in a golden lump, drowning in the buttermilk. Then Ma took out the lump with a wooden paddle into a wooden bowl, and she washed it many times in cold water, turning it over and over and working it with the paddle until the water ran clear. After that, she salted it. Now came the best part of the churning. Ma moved the butter. On the loose bottom of the wooden butter mold was carved the picture of a strawberry with 2 strawberry leaves. With a paddle, Ma packed butter tightly into the mold until it was full. Then she turned it upside down over a plate and pushed on the handle of the loose bottom. The little firm pat of golden butter came out with the strawberry, and its leaves mold on the top. Laura and Mary watched breathless, one on each side of Ma, while the golden little butter pots, each with its strawberry on the top, dropped onto the plate as Ma put all the butter through the mold. Then Ma gave them each a drink of good fresh buttermilk. On Saturday, when Ma made the bread, they each had a little piece of dough to make into a little loaf. They might have a bit of cookie dough too, to make little cookies, and once Laura even made a pea in her patty pan. After the day's work was done, Ma sometimes cut paper dolls for them. She cut the dolls out of stiff white paper and through them paper she cut dresses and hats, ribbons and laces, so that Laurie and Mary could dress their dolls beautifully. But the best time of all was at night when Pa came home. He would come in front his tramping through the snowy woods with tiny icicles hanging on the ends of his mustaches. He would hang his gun on the wall over the door, throw off his fur cap and coat and mittens, and call, "Where's my little half-pint of sweet cider half drunk up?" That was Laura, because she was so small. Laura and Mary would run to climb on his knees and sit there while he warmed himself by the fire. Then he would put on his coat and cap and mittens again and go out to do the chores and bring in plenty of wood for fire. Sometime when Pa had warped his strap lines quickly because the traps were empty, or when he had got some game sooner than usual, he would come home early. Then he would have time to play with Laura and Mary. One game they loved was called Mad Dog. Pa would run his fingers through his thick brown hairs, standing it all up on end. Then he dropped on all fours and growling he chased Laura and Mary all around the room, trying to get them. Cornered where they couldn't get away, then were quick at ducking and running, but once he cuffed them against the wood box behind the stove, they couldn't get past Pa, and there was no other way out. Then Pa growled so terribly. His hair was so wild and his eyes so fierce that it all seemed real. Mary was so frightened that she could not move, but as Pa came near, Laura screamed, and with a wild leap and a scramble she went over the wood box, dragging Mary with her. And at once there was no Mad Dog at all. There was only Pa standing there with his blue eyes shining. "Look at Laura." "Well," he said to her, "you're only a little half-pint of cider half drunk up, but by jinx, you're as strong as a little French horse. You shouldn't frighten the children." "So, Charles," Ma said, "look how big their eyes are." Pa looked, and then he took down his fiddle. He began to play and sing. Jangle Doddle went to town. He wore his striped trousers. He couldn't see the town. There were so many houses. Laura and Mary forgot all about the Mad Dog. And there he saw some great big guns big as a log of maple, and every time they turned them round, it took 2 yoke of cattle, and every time they fired them off, it took a horn of powder. It made a noisy like father's gun, only a nation louder. Pa was keeping time with his food, and Laura clapped her hands to move the music when he sang, and I'll sing Jackie Doodle Daddle, and I'll sing Jackie Doodle, and I'll sing Jackie Doodle Daddle, and I'll sing Jackie Doodle. All alone in the wild big woods and the snow and the cold, the little log house was warm and snug and cozy. Pa and Ma had Mary and Laura and baby Carrie were comfortable and happy there, especially at night. Then the fire was shining on the hearth. The cold and the dark and the wild beasts were all shut out. And Jack, the brindled bulldog, and Black Susan, the cat, lay blinking at the flames in the fireplace. Ma sat in her rocking chair, sewing by the light of the lamp on the table. The lamp was bright and shiny. There was salt into the bottom of its glass bowl with the kerosene to keep the kerosene from exploding. And then there were bits of red flannel among the salt to make it pretty. It was pretty. Laura loved to cook at the lamp with its glass chimney, to clean and sparkling it yellow, flame burning so steadily, its ball of clear kerosene color red by the bits of flannel. She loved to cook at the fire and the fireplace, flickering and changing all the time, burning yellow and red and sometimes green above the logs, and hovering blue over the golden and ruby coals. And then Pa told stories. When Laura and Mary begged him for a story, he would take them on his knees and tickle their face with his long whiskers until they laughed aloud. His eyes were blue and merry. One night Pa looked at Black Susan sketching herself before the fire and running her claws out and in. He said, "Do you know that a Penrith is a cat, a great big wild cat?" "No," said Laura. "Well, it is," said Pa. "Just imagine Black Susan bigger than Jack, and fiercer than Jack when he growls. Then she would be just like a panther." He settled Laura and Mary more comfortably on his knees, and he said, "I'll tell you about Grandpa and the panther." "Your grandpa?" Laura asked. "No, Laura, your grandpa, my father." "Oh," Laura said, and she winged closer against Pa's arm. She knew her grandpa. He lived far away in the big woods, in a big log house. Pa began.